in the centre. Hello everybody. We're still doing phrasal verbs today. We're going to be doing come phrasal verbs, and as you can see from the state of the board, it's a little bit cluttered up, so I'm sorry that I've done that. I'm sorry it's a little bit messy. There are a lot of phrasal verbs with come, just like there are a lot of phrasal verbs with go, and there are a lot of phrasal verbs with get as well. So it's actually there are a lot of phrasal verbs with get as well. So it's actually very difficult to make sure that I don't miss anything out. It's actually really hard to make sure that I don't miss anything out. If you go into bookshops, you'll be able to find phrasal verb dictionaries that are at least that thick. So there are a lot of phrasal verbs to learn in English, and if you only know 10 or 20, you need to start learning as many as possible. You don't need to, but it really will improve your English. It will improve it in the sense that it will make it sound more natural. So, I have a student actually who inspired me to start doing these phrasal verb exercises. And it's thanks to him really that I'm actually writing the book. So thanks Otto for encouraging me to do this. And Otto is very careful. He's a very meticulous student. He wants to know every single phrasal verb, and he wants to know every single meaning of every single phrasal verb, and he's in charge of making sure that I don't miss anything out in the exercises that I am writing. And I've tried to make sure that I've included the ones which he called me out on in the last class, because he noticed that I'd left out one or two. So let's start with come about. Come about means to happen unexpectedly, and it's very often used without an object. It's very often used in a question, something like this: how on earth did this come about? Meaning, how on earth did this happen? Exactly the same. How on earth did this happen? How on earth did this come about? But you could also use it in a sentence with an object if you use come about through something. So you might say this came about through the government's lowering of income tax or whatever. It came about for that reason. It happened for that reason. So come about through something is another one as well. And I want you to notice that with phrasal verbs with come, many of them are very similar to phrasal verbs with bring. Bring something about is to cause something to happen, to bring something about. What brought this about? What caused this? How did this come about? And this is the case with many other phrasal verbs with come and bring. You have come round and come to, meaning regain consciousness or be persuaded, but you also have bring someone round and bring someone to. And they both mean regain consciousness or be persuaded. So there are loads where bring and come are very similar. So it's well worth remembering that. It will help you remember several different phrasal verbs. So for example, to come off, it usually means to happen as planned, to happen successfully or to happen as planned. Now this is very similar to bring something off. And what you should be noticing here about bring and come is that the bring phrasal verb is usually transitive. Now all that means is that the bring phrasal verbs very often have an object. The come phrasal verbs very often don't have an object. Not always, but very often. So bring something about is transitive, come about is intransitive. Bring something off is transitive, come off is intransitive. But they both mean to happen as planned, okay? But you could also come off some medicine or some drugs, meaning that you no longer take that medicine or no longer take those drugs. So if you come off some kind of medicine, it means you stop taking it. But you can also say he came off better in the fight, meaning that he didn't have so many bruises on his body after the fight. He came off better. He won the fight. So you can come off better and you can also come off worse. And in that sense, I think it's quite similar to end up. He ended up worse. He ended up better. Yeah? And I wanted to remind you as well that go down is quite often happen as planned. So if you say the party came off well, the party went down well, both of them mean the party took place and it was a successful party. It went down well. The guests liked it. Yeah, that's what it means when you say the party went down well. If you say it came off, it just sounds successful. Okay, come up, a lot here. I want you to remember these phrasal verbs though: crop up, turn up, show up, because they're all related to come up. And you might talk about a lesson that's coming up later in the week. That means it's soon to take place. Or an election which is coming up. It just means the election which is soon to take place. So it could mean that. It could mean arise or appear. So we say that the sun comes up in the morning when it's sunrise, and then it goes down when it's sunset. So come up and go down would be the opposite. Okay, but it doesn't have to be the sun which is coming up. There could be many other things which just suddenly arise or appear. So it's very similar to crop up in this meaning. If you say a few difficulties came up when we were doing the project, or a few difficulties cropped up when we were doing the project, it means they arose, some problems arose. Okay, so I've said here as well that the sun comes up and goes down. I think that is related to arise or appear, because let's face it, the sun appears when it comes up. But just want to make it clear that the sun comes up, it's very different from the sun comes out. And that's our next phrasal verb, come out. When you say the sun comes out, it means it comes out from somewhere. So the sun comes out, it comes out from behind the clouds. And when you say, the sun will come out in a few minutes, it means the clouds will move along and the sun will suddenly appear. So this one means arise or appear, come out, but it means arise or appear from something, from behind something. We also say that flowers come out in spring, meaning flowers blossom. They come out, they arise. Okay, you might say from nowhere, but no, from the ground. They suddenly arise, they appear from the ground. So I think this come out, it's always from something, whereas come up just means arise or appear. So flowers come out, the sun comes out, the stars can come out. If the clouds are blotting them out, the stars can come out, or the moon can come out. So remember that other phrasal verb, blot something out, meaning to obscure it from vision. Clouds very often blot out the sun. Now, I keep telling everybody that very soon my book will come out. I will put it onto Amazon and I'll start to make it available for everybody to buy. So I keep telling you that I'm going to bring my book out. Look at that. Again, the come and the bring phrasal verb, exactly the same, but come is intransitive and bring is transitive. So my book will come out. I'm going to bring my book out. I'm going to roll my book out soon. So it can mean be published, but it can also mean arise or appear, like the sun comes out. And of course, you can ask your friend to come out, or ask your friend if he wants to come out. And that would mean to go out socially. Okay, I think we're going to have to make this 2 lessons on come phrasal verbs.